Stay alert. Watch your neighbors.
Have you ever imagined a world where over 800,000 lives could be taken in just 100 days and those responsible simply walked away? In 1994, Rwanda became the site of one of the most catastrophic genocides in modern history. Amid the horror, one man, Paul Davina, a hotel manager, used nothing but his words, his wits, and his connections to shelter more than 1,200 Tutsi refugees within the walls of the Hotel Mille Collines in Kigali. But beyond the courage of one man, this film raises a profound question of international law. When an entire state machinery is weaponized against its own people, who is responsible? The first issue that emerges from this film is the commission of genocide as defined under international law. The killings in Rwanda were not random acts of violence. They were systematic, organized, and targeted at an identifiable ethnic group, the Tutsi. Under Article 2 of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, 1948, genocide is defined as acts committed with the intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group. The Rwandan Genocide fits squarely within this definition, as Hutu extremists and militia groups carried out coordinated massacres across the country. In the film, we witness George Rutaganda, a wealthy businessman and militia leader, openly stockpile machetes to be distributed to the Interahamwe. We see General Augustin Bizimungu, a high-ranking military commander, idly sipping whiskey at a luxury hotel while massacres unfold in the streets beyond. These are not fictional embellishments. Both men are real, and both face the consequences of international justice. The second critical issue is the complicity and failure of the international community. The film powerfully depicts how the United Nations peacekeeping forces in Rwanda under the command of Colonel Oliver were rendered helpless by a mandate that restricted them to peacekeeping rather than peacemaking. When 10 Belgian United Nations soldiers were murdered, Western nations led by the United States pulled their forces out entirely, abandoning hundreds of thousands of civilians to their fate. Colonel Oliver's bitter words to Paul, "You're not even a black man, you're African," encapsulates the brutal truth that the international community had deemed African lives unworthy of intervention. This failure raises urgent questions under international law regarding the responsibility to protect, or R2P, a principle later codified at the 2005 United Nations World Summit, which holds that the international community has a responsibility to intervene when a state fails to protect its own population from mass atrocities. The third issue is the suppression of truth and the weaponization of media. Throughout the film, Radio Mille Collines, the notorious RTLM broadcaster continuously incites violence by labeling Tutsis as cockroaches to be exterminated. This constitutes a direct violation of international norms against incitement to genocide, as recognized under Article 3C of the Genocide Convention, which criminalizes direct and public incitement to commit genocide. The ICTR would later prosecute several media figures under what became known as the media case, a landmark moment in international criminal law. From the perspective of international criminal law, the systemic nature of the violence in Rwanda constitutes crimes against humanity under Article 7 of the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, encompassing acts of murder, extermination, torture, and persecution when committed as part of a widespread or systemic attack against a civilian population. In November 1994, just months after the genocide ended, the United Nations Security Council adopted Resolution 955, establishing the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, based in Arusha, Tanzania. This was a historic moment the first international tribunal since Nuremberg, specifically empowered to prosecute the crime of genocide. The ICTR held jurisdiction over genocide, crimes against humanity, and serious violation of Article 3, common to the Geneva Convention and Additional Protocol 2, committed in Rwanda between January 1st and December 31st, 1994. Two of the most prominent figures from Hotel Rwanda were prosecuted before the ICTR. George Rutaganda, who in the film we see arming militia and openly celebrating the killings, was found guilty of genocide and crimes against humanity in December 1999 and sentenced to life imprisonment. Augustin Bizimungu, who fled to the Democratic Republic of Congo after the genocide, was eventually captured in Angola in 2002 and brought before the tribunal, where he was convicted on multiple counts including genocide, murder, and rape as crimes against humanity. The ICTR made several groundbreaking contributions to international law. In the Akayesu case 1998, it delivered the first ever conviction for genocide in international legal history, and crucially, it established that rape could constitute an act of genocide when committed with the intent to destroy an ethnic group. In the media case 2003, it found that broadcasting incitement to genocide constituted a punishable offense, setting a critical precedent for the relationship between freedom of expression and the prevention of mass atrocities. Operating from 1995 until its closure in 2015, the ICTR prosecuted 93 individuals with 62 convicted. Its work, alongside the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, directly laid the groundwork for the establishment of the Permanent International Criminal Court through the Rome Statute of 1998. Hotel Rwanda is a mirror held up to the failure of states, international institutions, and the global community, and a testament to the enduring power of one individual's moral courage in the face of systemic evil. The story of Paul Rusesabagina reminds us that law without enforcement is merely words on paper. It is the ICTR, imperfect as it was, that transformed those words into verdicts, into sentences, into accountability. For the first time in the post-Cold War era, international criminal law demonstrated that those who commit genocide, no matter how powerful, are not beyond the reach of justice. Yet, the questions that Hotel Rwanda poses remain urgent today. Is the international community truly committed to preventing mass atrocities, or only to prosecuting them after the fact? Does the ICC have the political will and the resources to deliver justice to all victims, regardless of their nationality or the power of their perpetrators? Because, in the end, justice is a responsibility, and the world owes it, not just to the survivors of Rwanda, but to every generation that comes after.